under the age of 18? So quite a few of you. How many of you lied about your age so that you could watch restricted content on YouTube? See, you're the ones messing up my analytics. Your parents take them home, take away their fidget spinners. They need to learn a lesson in honesty. But I love places like this. I love conventions like this because I feel like this is the only place where people really understand us. Because out in the real world, it's completely different. Like, here's a really good example. In the real world, people get excited about things like babies and engagements. But in our world, people get excited about things like baby Ariel and their Twitter engagement. No one, okay, great. But it's just really weird seeing different lifestyles. Like my sister, she's only a year older than me, and she has 2 babies and a husband. I have 2 therapists and a stolen Netflix account. So it's day and night with us. Our conversation's always on the phone with her being like, hey, I gotta go, I gotta make dinner and feed the baby. And I'm like, yeah, me too, I gotta go make a Musical.ly and feed my ego. But here, people get it, they understand it, because we're not making our friends based on proximity or who's in our class alphabetically. Here, we can hand select our friends from an entire universe of people based on whatever it is that we're interested in. It's the globalization of friendship, and it's truly incredible. It's like we're the misfits who found each other because we don't really belong anywhere else, or at least that's my experience. Growing up, I didn't really have that many friends, but I sat on AOL Instant Messenger, just aged myself to all the people under 18 here, but I would sit on AOL Instant Messenger and I would talk to strangers and tell them my deepest secrets to a faceless username and just throw it into the dark cobwebs of the internet. And it's really scary to think about, but I would sit there for hours, just lost in cyberspace. But I've always felt comfortable, tangled up in the World Wide Web. I felt safe. But I spent so much time talking to strangers about my problems on the internet that I forgot how to deal with them in real life. And I became so content with my internet connection that I stopped working on my interpersonal connections. I became so comfortable with X and O that I shied away from hugs and kisses. And it became really lonely, and I started becoming forever alone in a crowded room. And I had friends, and it just always felt like I was on the outside looking in, kind of like they were the earth, and I was a satellite, just kind of looking down at them, if that makes sense. Not down, that sounded awful. They're better than me, trust me. But it became really lonely, and because of this, I spent a lot of time sobbing silently into pillows when I should have been talking to people. And I started drowning in depression, and most of my adult life, I was suffering silently and crippled by anxiety because I didn't know how to talk about it anymore. And it's a sad life because you can feel so connected to so many people, yet still feel so alone. And I talked a lot about this with my therapist, and he asked me, did you ever tell your friends about this? Have you ever explained your feelings? I was like, God, of course not. And he said, well, why not? That's what friends are for. What, did you ever explain to them your feelings of darkness and loneliness? And I said, no, God, no. And he asked me why, and I said, because they couldn't understand. How could they? They're all so happy. They all live these beautiful Midwestern lives. They could never get it. And I was alienating myself by living this digital world and separating myself from them. So recently, I found myself, and it wasn't that long ago, in one of the darkest places that I've been in a very long time. It was this very strange conundrum of feeling like my chest was so full that it was going to explode, and somehow feeling completely empty at the same time. But if anybody ever asked me, are you okay? I would say, yes, of course, I'm okay. So on the 4th of July, which was very recently actually, I forced myself to go out. And I told myself, Gabbie, you have an incredible life, because truly I do. You have an incredible life. Go out, spend time with your friends, get a tan, have a couple drinks, and it's going to be amazing, and you're going to have a great time. And I did, and it worked for a couple hours. But then as the sun went down, the darkness grew, and I started feeling that time bomb in my chest start ticking again. And my instinct has always been to hide. I've always wanted to run. I've always hid from my emotions. I've always run to the bathroom and cried instead of letting anybody see it. And that was my instinct. But I just didn't want to anymore. I was just so tired. And hide and seek is only fun if somebody's looking. So on the 4th of July, I'm looking around and I'm feeling these really heavy emotions, and my instinct is to run. And for some reason, I just didn't want to. I didn't have the energy, I didn't have the strength. And I looked around at my friends and everybody was so happy and absorbed in their own moment and enjoying it so much that I just decided to sit down and just feel the pain and just let everybody do their own thing. And I sat up against the wall and all my friends are watching the fireworks and nobody noticed. And I sat there for what could have been 5 minutes or what could have been an hour until one girl noticed. And this girl, I don't really have a relationship with her. She actually used to bash me on the internet and to my friends before she met me in person. And we met and it was cordial, but we didn't really have anything in common, and she wasn't anybody that I would ever see myself opening up to. And she saw that I was feeling upset, and she came over to me and she kneeled in front of me, and I was like, God, here we go. She's gonna ask me if I'm okay, and I don't wanna talk about it. But she didn't. She said, I can't imagine the pressure you're under, and I have no idea what's hurting you, but it's going to be okay. And then she put her arm around me, and I just surprised myself because I allowed myself to sob into this girl who not only did I expect to never even have small talk with, but I'm ripped open and bleeding out in front of her, and she's just silently holding me, not asking questions and comforting me, and until I caught my breath, and then we pulled back and I looked around and still nobody noticed. And I learned a lot that night, and I've changed a lot since that night. And the first thing I learned was that it's okay to feel, and it's okay to feel bad things, and it's okay to hurt, and it's okay to be sad. And the second thing I learned is it's okay to let people know. You don't have to put on a front. It's okay to tell people you're not okay. Take a step outside of your digital you and just be vulnerable. And it is so scary, horrifying to be that vulnerable, but when you do it, it is so empowering. There is nothing more empowering than just owning your emotions. Hide and seek isn't fun if nobody's looking, but sometimes you have to ask somebody to play with you. Since that day, I've started opening up about things that I never thought I would open up with, and to people I never thought could ever understand that I would talk to, and I was dumbfounded by who and how many people shared my exact experience, my exact upbringing, my pain, my emotions, my fears, my insecurities. These people who I never expected to understand walked a marathon in my shoes, and I didn't know because I didn't ask. But the next time somebody asked me, are you okay? I said no, but I will be. And I hope you can answer the same. Thank you guys.
She's amazing. That's a great bit.